And so this evening we're doing 2 Anagarika ordinations and 1 Sāmaṇera or novice ordination. And with Ajahn Kurnadamo stepping back from co-abbot duties in about a month, he's asked me to be the one to do the ordination, give dependence, and it'll be Anagārika Josh going forth as a Sāmaṇera or novice, and it'll be Aaron and Dave going forth as Anagārikas, and give a bit more explanation as to what all that means and what's actually happening, especially for people who might be watching the live stream and somewhat unfamiliar with these different stages of ordination and what's happening. And so I think if we're all, is everybody here? Close enough? Yeah? Okay. So yeah, if I could, we'll start with the Anagārika ordination. So if Aaron and Dave could come up and we'll begin. So Vesākha Pūjā, very auspicious day to be ordaining.
Sambado garawa sorajo pato abokaso pavaja na idang sukarang agarang aja wasata ekanta paripurnam ekanta parisutang Sangha likitung brahmacharyang tung yang nunahang ke samasung oharetva kasaya niwata niyacha detva agara sama anagariyang pabajeyang. The household life is cramped and dusty. The homeless life is free as air. It is not easy living the household life, to live the fully perfected holy life, purified and polished like a conch shell. Suppose I were to shave off my hair and beard, don the robes of a Buddhist monastic, and go forth from the household life into homelessness.
Okay, so now having done the formal Anagarika request, both in Pali and English, that's a request that's from the suttas, and it refers to people being inspired to leave the home life and become bhikkhus or Buddhist monks, but we do this first stage of ordination, the Anagārika ordination, so we apply it to that. So now I'll hand Aaron and Dave their whites, and they'll go and put their whites on. Good to put their sitting cloths out. So with the Anagārika ordination, then Aaron and Dave are putting on their whites. This harkens back to the time of the Buddha, what we call the white-robed householders, or there was renunciate lay people in the time of the Buddha who would follow the 8 precepts. Also, there was lay people who would, on the lunar observance days or the Uposatha days, would wear white and go to the monastery and keep 8 precepts for a day and a night. And so the 8 precepts are termed as the renunciate precepts. And these are the five precepts, the basic precepts of refraining from taking life, refraining from taking that which is not given, refraining from sexual misconduct, refraining from false speech in terms of lying, harmful speech, refraining from intoxicants, specifically alcohol, intoxicating drink. And those are the 5 precepts for householders or lay people. And the 8 precepts, you have the 3rd precept of sexual misconduct actually changing to complete celibacy or abstinence from any form of sexual activity. So starting to take steps to relinquish sensuality. And also you have the 6th precept, which is translated as not eating at inappropriate times, but it's actually the holding the Vinaya or monastic discipline standard of eating only between dawn and midday, and outside of that time only taking, say, liquids or certain medicinal requisites. And then the 7th precept, refraining from entertainment, beautification, and adornment. And so focusing more on peace and solitude. And the 8th precept being refraining from lying on a higher luxurious sleeping place. And so in the teachings, in the suttas, the 8th precept is defined as like sleeping on a simple bed, a low bed, no higher than 8 finger breadths. So in the time of the Buddha, measuring by finger breadths, so 8 finger breadths, or just a simple straw mat on the floor. Modern interpretation might be like a yoga mat or a thermarest, just some simple, easy to look after thing. So these are the renunciate precepts. And the precepts that the bhikkhus and novices, Sāmaṇeras follow are also, the 8 precepts really line out like the spirit of the Buddhist monastic training. And so the Anagarika training is just an introduction to that. Anagarika, the word Anagarika literally just means garika or gahaka, that's like householder or having a home. So ana is like not having, so it just means homeless one. Anagarika, one without a household, or one who doesn't live in a household or a home. And so it's like we say, welcome to the homeless life, even though we aren't homeless in the sense of when you say like, I saw a homeless person today, you're usually not thinking of people in the monastery, although technically, legally, I guess we are like homeless people, but we're homeless people with very good facilities that have been provided for us. And we're able to live in very suitable huts, little huts in the forest, what we call kuti. Kuti, K-U-T-I, that's a monk's hut. And that's the Pali word that we use. And now they'll be wearing their whites. The sort of flowing robe-like thing that they're wearing is what we call pavillon. That's the introduction to wearing a robe. It's kind of a beginner's robe. they will formally request and take the 8 precepts.
Mayang bante tisaranena saha atasilani yachama dutiyampi mayang bante tisaranena saha atasilani yachama tatiyampi mayang bante tisaranena saha Atasilani yachama.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Ti sarana kamanang nititang.
Amapante.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sāmaṇera macha pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sāmaṇera maja pamadatana veramani Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Vikala Pojana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha Gita Varita Visukatasana Malaganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Nacha Gita Vadita Visukatasana Mala Ganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani atta sikapadani samadhiyami.
Imani yata sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani yata sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani yata sikapadani samadhiyami.
Silena sugating yanti, silena bhoga sampada, silena nibuting yanti tasama silang viso tatye.
Sadhu Bhante.
Okay, now you can sit in puppy up. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful to see two more white-clad samana aspirants. And it's, of course, Aaron having been a bhikkhu for 8 years previously, but having been in the world for 5 years, so entering back into the monastic form, and Dave coming fresh into it. So, yeah, very angelic looking with the fresh whites. And they won't stay that white for very long, though. This is, people ask, like, what is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? But Buddhism is very much a training, actually, is the way I tend to think about it. And Anagarika training, so we use that word training. Sikapada, the 8 precepts, we say Sikapadang Samadhiyami, like I undertake this training precept. So it's very much a training, looking after your whites, trying to keep them white, keep them as white as possible, and it's the first gate of ordination. So like with the novice ordination, you have giving up of money, but the Anagārikas still use money, still drive, still serve the monastery in various ways. And in the Longpo Cha lineage, Thai, Theravada Buddhism, then there is the Anagarika training, followed a fairly long period of Anagarika training, followed by novice training, followed by the opportunity to take on the bhikkhu training. And he would say if you make them wait long, then they stay for long. So having a long initial period, but then we take things as they come. So there's like a lot to learn. There's chanting and stuff to learn, but it doesn't have to be learned right away. It can be done little by little, and you'll have your various kitchen duties, Anagarika duties to do. But also at the same time, like the 3rd precept it really defines the holy life or the samana life. So celibacy, so actually taking steps to overcome sensuality and to cool down sensuality, and that's a very important one. And then also like the seventh precept, entertainment, beautification, and adornment. That's also like it's not like you have to completely abstain from any form of joy, but it's more like just more of a sense of going inward. So there may be, I mean, human life, the human condition is entertaining in and of itself, and that's fine. You know, in terms of Dhamma, we find ourselves chuckling at that from time to time, and it's important to be able to laugh at ourselves and not lose our sense of humor and not get too tight or overly serious, because this has to be, you're taking on a training which is like a long-term commitment, and to be able to do something which is sustainable, that's super important. Little practical things, practical changes, which it may seem like a small thing because you've been keeping the 8 precepts already in the monastery. Dave serving the winter retreat, and but actually there are little practical changes, like you'll start eating out of a bowl. You'll be in the dining hall with all the other monks and novices. You won't be able to go back for seconds. That's a big change. Grazing. You won't be able to do as much grazing. And so things like that, which do make a difference, actually, and things are more streamlined. Eating out of the bowl, and also just being able to see and watch and kind of notice how the bhikkhus and novices do things, how they look after the senior monks and look after Longpa, and just learning about that aspect of looking after each other. And we just take things as they come, and I'm available for questions. Longpo, Ajahn Kurdama, while he's still around, he said he's going to be a non-guiding elder, but he will be giving some guidance and be an example, and you can ask him about the old days at Abhayagiri, and I think that about sums it up. There'll be a little bit more instruction before taking dependence, but I think for now, refuges. You've also taken the refuges, which is the Sarana, the refuges in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, in addition to the precepts. So that's also something you're going to be relying on. These refuges are to be relied on. So the old things we took refuge in, whether it was distraction or some form of sensuality, then we're the Anagarika training is like shifting out of that, shifting modes. You won't be able to do it right away, but it's just making it conscious and trying to shift into a different way of living, a different way of being. And so that about sums it up for just initial instruction. And at this time, we've also got another stage to this ordination. So at this point, if the two of you can scooch over, and I'll call up Anagarika Josh to begin his pabaja, or going forth, the novice ordination. And somebody could help carry his seat over.
he changed right now?
No, he was, I think he just forgot to put his robes next to him or something. He's going to get his tray of robes.
Vandami Bante Sabanya Paradam Kamatame Bante Maya Katang Punyam Samina Hanumoditabam Samina Katang Punyam Mayam Databam Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Okasa Karunyan Katawa Pavajam Deka Me Bante.
Now Anagarika Josh has some robes he's presenting to me just to for me to look over and make sure everything is there. And this is according to the ancient tradition of the Pabaja or novice going forth. So he's got a sash which will, which when he puts his robes on, that'll be tied around him so that they don't fall off, because the robes are wont to fall off when we first wear them. And then he has a shoulder cloth, also known as angsa. He's got a sabang, a belt. These are basic requisites of samanas. So the sabang being the lower robe, which we wear around our lower part of the body all the time. The jiwan, or the chivara, he's got here. And this is all, looks like it's all there. So, and now I will hand it back to him. He'll go to the next part of the ceremony, actually requesting the novice ordination.
Aham Bante Abhayagiri Chami Dutiyampi Aham Bante Abhayagiri Chami Tatiyampi Aham Bante Abhayagiri Chami Sapadukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya Imanka Sāvanga Hitava Pāvajeta Bante Anukampam Upadaya Sapadukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya Imanka Sāvanga Hitava Pāvajeta Bante Anukampam Upadaya Sapadukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya Imanka Sāvanga Hitava Pāvajeta Bante Anukampam Upadaya. Sapadukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya Ekanka Sāvang Gatava Pāvajeta Bante Anukampam Upadaya Sapadukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya Etang kasawang datawa pavajetamang bante anukampang upadaya sabbadukkha nissarana nibbana satchikaranataya etang kasawang datawa pavajetamang bante anukampang upadaya.
Sit comfortably. So what Anagarika Josh just chanted there, the Sabba Dukkha Nissarana Nibbana Satchikaranataya, that's for the Nissarana is like escape. It's a special word in Pali, so it's like for the escaping or the getting out of all dukkha, for the getting out of all suffering, all dissatisfaction, and nibbana, satchikaranataya, for the realization of nibbana, which is the final goal of Buddhist practice. Nibbana, satchikaranataya. It says, imang kasawang gahetawa. So with these here robes, so he was chanting, the first part of the chant was he was holding the robes. So with these robes, may I, out of compassion, may you grant me the going forth, the pabajais, the going forth into the samana life or into the novice training. And then the next, he handed me the robes, and then he repeats the same phrase again, but this time it's etang kasawang datawa. So with this cloth that I've given to you now, that I've given, out of compassion, may you grant me the going forth. And so now this is a very, very interesting ceremony, because this going forth, what happens now is myself, the preceptor who's bestowing the novice ordination, actually gives the first formal meditation object to the aspirant. And with that giving of the formal meditation object, then I will give the robes, and he will go and put the robes on, and then be in the brown, and he will be a Sāmaṇera or a novice, and he'll get a new name. You won't know him as Josh anymore. He won't be a different person yet, but it's a big deal, because it's taking that next step of relinquishing money, relinquishing one's assets, and then even in a sense relinquishing one's identity. And one of the blessings, actually, I found of just being in this monastic form is you don't actually have to be somebody special or cultivate your personality. It's very much, you just do the sikapada, do the training, and allow it to do its work on you. And the blessings of peace and contentment arise over time, and the blessings of experience arise over time. And so the first meditation object, it's very simple, and for people who are perhaps watching the live stream, not so familiar with Buddhist practice, it might sound a bit strange, this first meditation object, but it's what we call the mula kammatthana. It's the first 5 subjects for contemplation, and that's the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And so this is, as we start to cool down our sense of attachment to the body and start to relinquish the sense of identity with the body in order to move toward a more of a sense of freedom that comes from this kind of practice, then we start to investigate the true nature of hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. These are the 5 body parts that the Buddha taught about, which are visible on a human being. It's what we define ourselves by. And even though these are very ordinary things, and we don't normally we don't normally go about our daily life thinking hair, contemplating like what is hair, or what is body hair, what are my nails, what is teeth, what is skin. But rather we get infatuated with it or get distracted by it. And yet these also can be the basis for liberation, for the mind that lets go, which is the final goal of Buddhism, is developing the mind that is finally able to completely let go, the mind of letting go. So, or Nibbana. So it's like the story of the novice Daba the Malayan, he was having his head shaved in order to become a novice, and he was 7 years old. He was at the age of 7. And as they were shaving his head, he started contemplating the hair as it was falling off, and he reached full enlightenment, he reached arhatship, just contemplating that. So even as a novice, one doesn't need to be fully ordained in order to have full insight into the Dhamma. And it came from that, just seeing the impermanence of hair, just that simple contemplation that what was something that was me or attached to me, or what I might define as somehow connected with me or something which is mine, can fall off and just be earth element or just be something ordinary. And so when I recite these, I will recite these 5 bases of meditation practice on the body contemplation, in Pali, in forward and reverse order. Okay, so you could repeat after me. Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, Tacho, Danta, Naka, Loma, Kesa, and then you can come forward and I'll put your right arm through. I'll give you your robes. And that's the Thai way of doing it. I always wanted to do that. And you can go and put your robes on. Now there is experienced bhikkhus helping him to put the robe on. It takes quite a bit of practice to get the robe on and learn how to bow in it and keep from slipping off. And it's just, why would anybody want to put themselves through this? It's definitely worth it. So while Anagarika Josh is, yes? That's running out, okay. So while Anagarika Josh is putting on his novice robes, just reminded of, so today being Vesākha Pūjā and the day, the full moon of May, commemorating the Buddha's birth, his enlightenment, and his final Nibbana, final passing away. A lot is known and talked about those first days and weeks and months after the Buddha's awakening, how the Buddha walked to the deer park and taught the first 5 disciples. But then something I've been thinking about is also like afterward, the actual growth of the Sangha and the spreading of the Dhamma. And the Buddha spent the first monsoon season, so starting in about July, the monsoon season in India, and wanderers and ascetics would stay in just one area during the monsoon season, and now that's a tradition we call Vasa. And he taught the first 5 disciples at that time, and they were brought to arhantship, to full awakening, within that first Vasa. But then there's another character who appears it's not clear whether it's at the end of the Vasa or right after the end of the Vasa, but the Buddha and the first 5 disciples are still hanging out in the deer park and living there outside of the city of Benares, modern-day Varanasi. And there's a very wealthy Brahmin family who lives in Varanasi, and the youth, there's the son of that family. His name's Yasa, and he actually becomes dispassionate toward the household life and decides to leave. And he's kind of fed up with the trappings of wealth and just the lavish lifestyle he's leading. So he's in this sort of almost drunken state, and he wanders out of his parents' mansion, and he ends up wandering away about 10 kilometers into the deer park, and comes up to where the Buddha is, and presumably it's about morning time, and he says, "This is fearful, this is strange." And the Buddha says, "Come, Yasa, this is not fearful, this is not strange, this is not terrible." And the Buddha proceeds to teach him the Dhamma, and Yasa very quickly opens his Dhamma eye, sees impermanence, and attains the first stage of awakening, of stream entry. And I like him as a character because then, of course, his mother and father, where did he go? They're starting to panic come morning, and their son is gone. And they're searching the countryside, and eventually the father goes to the deer park and wants to ask the Buddha, "Did you see my son come by?" And he sees his son's shoes, his golden slippers. He sees his golden slippers, but he doesn't see Yasa because the Buddha's sort of like hidden him. And but then the father ends up gaining faith, and then he's the first layman to take refuge in the triple gem. So he becomes the first upasika. Then the mother shows up, and she becomes the first upasika. And then Yasa, while all this is happening, he's reflecting on the Dhamma, and he attains arhantship. So he's a bhikkhu by that point. And then he ends up staying with the Buddha. Mother and father have gained faith, and then 4 of Yasa's friends, who are from other top Brahmin families in Varanasi, they're wondering what happened to their buddy. So they wander into the deer park. They all see him, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." So they quickly attain arhantship. And then 50 more of Yasa's buddies from medium level Brahmin families, sort of wondering like, what happened to Yasa? And they go and they all ordain, and they all attain arhantship. And then that's when there's 61 arhants in the world, if you include the Buddha. And that's the moment where the Buddha then, okay, the Vasa's over. He says to these 60 arhants, he says, go and spread the Dhamma, no two going in the same direction. Go and spread the Dhamma out of the welfare and compassion for the world. And then the Buddha says, I myself will go to this one place, I think it's Gaya Sisa. And that's like you get the sense that's like the beginning of the Buddha's dispensation spreading across India. And from there, of course, it just spreads exponentially. But in terms of just reflecting on the going forth, I like that. Like say, as Josh goes forth as a novice, and then you get a sense like of thinking of Yasa, how the family and the friends became interested, and the Buddha's sort of very inclusive in terms of including family and friends in the whole process. And so when novice Josh returns, he'll be taking the 10 precepts, which is, we'll only do that in Pali. It's the 8 precepts, but the 2 that are added, actually the entertainment, beautification, and adornment is split in 2 for some ancient, unknown reason. Probably happened at some point. And so it's like one being entertainment, the other being beautification and adornment. So that precept is split in 2. So essentially, we're just adding one different rule, which is the abstaining from accepting and using money. That's the Jata Rupa Rajata Patikahana, the Sikapada, abstaining from using money. So really entering into like an alms mendicant lifestyle. He'll have an alms bowl, just like the bhikkhus. He'll look like a bhikkhu in every way, except he just won't have this third robe, the Sangati. This is something that is a hallmark of the bhikkhus. But he does have the jiwan, or the upper robe. This one he'll have. And you have about a year to learn about the bhikkhu training and see. We take these things 1 year at a time. So he makes this commitment to be a Sāmaṇera, and then to study the bhikkhu training and see, is this sustainable? Is it a lifestyle that's working? And none of these stages of ordination are actually lifetime commitments. Even the bhikkhu training, we say it's very, very difficult to join, easy to leave. So as a bhikkhu, or as a novice or an Anagarika, all you have to do is just say, I've had enough, that I'm done, or I'm leaving. That's all you have to do. And then it's a valid disrobing. But you have to say it to somebody. You can't just say it. That's the caveat. You actually have to say it to another human being. And it can't just be in your kuti by yourself. I've had it. There may be times when it gets difficult. This can be a struggle. So there may be times when you're sitting alone in your kuti and you say, I've had it. But if it's not in front of someone, then that doesn't count as a valid act of disrobing. And for this particular ceremony, we only do this in the ordinations, but he'll have a sash tied around his robe to help keep it from falling off while he's doing these first practicing bowing in his robe. And it's very common that the robe falls off at the beginning like this. And so we've got our expert sash tires with him now, just tying that sash around him and making sure everything stays in place, at least for the ceremony. And also when he comes back, he'll take the refuges and precepts, and then also the very end of the ordination ceremony would be all 3 of the candidates taking what we call nisaya, or dependence, all together after that time. reflecting on one of the, like letting go of assets or the accepting of money, it very much makes us, from the novice ordination on, much more dependent, completely dependent on the lay community for our needs. So it's very much putting ourselves in a vulnerable position, but it can also be good for the practice in terms of asking ourselves, well, my life is sustained through the gifts of others. Just reflecting on that and thinking, okay, how am I doing? How am I practicing? Am I doing the work of a religious seeker? So we don't work our, say, like a 9-to-5 job or make a salary, but then have our duties of putting an end to dukkha and bringing the mind to a state of peace, ease, well-being. That's our duty, to try to relinquish the defilements and overcome things like anger, irritation, greed, and help and do whatever we can, practice the training precepts to develop sila, like doing that chant at the end of the Anagarika ordination, silena sugating yanti silena bhogasampada. That's like sila. Sila's the path to heaven. Sila is the path to happiness. Sila is the true wealth, true inner wealth. Therefore, develop and perfect your sila. Sila is like what we use sikapada to develop sila. So the sikapada being the training precepts or training guidelines, but then sila actually being an internal quality which we're trying to develop, internal composure of heart, and internal virtue. So we start externally with these training guidelines, training precepts, the 8 precepts, the 10 precepts, and then bringing it inward and into a sense of sila. So now, Sāmaṇera Josh will be requesting the 10 precepts. You could probably let this. No need to put the hands in Anjali for that one.
Okasa vandami bante sabang aparadang kamatame bante maya katang punyang samina hanumoditabang samina katang punyang mayhang databang sadhu sadhu anumodami okasa karunyang katava jisaranena saha silani detame bante.
So now he's asked, just please out of compassion, to grant me the training precepts. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Yamahang vadami tang vadehi.
Okasa hamma bante.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tisarana kamanang nititang.
Okasahamma bante.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Anatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya macha pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sura Mereya Majapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala Bhojana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Nacha gita varita visukadasana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Nacha Gita Vadita Visukadasana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Mala Ganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Jata ruparajatapatikahana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Jata Rupa Rajatapatikahana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Okasahamma bante. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Okay, you can sit comfortably. And then I'll just give brief instruction on taking of dependence to the three of you now. You'll all do that together, and you could, and the dependence. The word is nisaya, so it just means dependence, and you will depend on not just me, but Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You'll be depending on Luang Por, on the community, but you'll formally be taking dependence on me. So that's a position of, I'm putting myself in a position of helping to train you and be a be a friend, be a brother, and I can help to assist in whatever way I need to assist. And also just the meaning of going forth, like in the sense of papaja. There's a few different times they say the devas or celestial beings rejoice, and one is at the time of going forth when the brown robes are put on. That's a time when forces of goodness, we'll call them forces of goodness, rejoice. The other times are when one makes the unshakable, irreversible resolve to attain Nibbana. And then the other time is when one does attain Nibbana, when one does attain the final goal of practice and develop the mind of letting go. So going forth is like going forth into that aspiration, but also going forth into that struggle, because it is a struggle to overcome, to be peaceful, to be happy, and to develop a mind of letting go is not easy. There is obstacles, and we really need to depend and rely on teachers and friends, community, what we call kalyanamitta, beautiful spiritual friends. That's really important. It's like the teaching where Ananda, the Buddha's attendant and student, he tells the Buddha one day, he's had this realization that good friendship, spiritual friendship, is half of the holy life. And the Buddha is saying, not so, Ananda. It's the whole of the holy life. So dependence on good friends, on our kalyanamitta, is the whole of the holy life. And we all lift each other up. And this goes for not only the monastics, but the lay people as well, because we all lift each other up in various ways, whether it's the lay people supporting us, or now that you're a novice, you'll be supported more directly by the lay people with an alms bowl. You'll be, whenever we start going alms round again, we haven't been going alms round because of stay in place orders, but whenever we start going alms round again, and it will happen at some point, then you have your bowl, and you'll be your bowl and robes. You're well equipped for the life of going forth. So I've given a fair amount of instruction already, so you could just go into the asking of dependence, and we'll finish off the ceremony. Okay.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Acharyo me bante hohi, ayasamato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi, ayasamato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi, ayasamato nisaya vachami.
Opaikang, patirupang, pasadikena sampadehi.
Ajatahe dhani tero, mai hambaro, aham pitera sabaro. Ajatahe dhani tero, mai hambaro, aham pitera sabaro. Ajatahe dhani tero, mai hambaro, aham pitera sabaro.
Okay, you can sit comfortably again for about a minute. And finally, it's been a long time coming. After a previous year and a half of Anagarika and another year of Anagarika now you get your new name. probably very anticlimactic, actually. But it's in there, and along with the story of your name. So you can open it. You don't have to wait. It's just a piece of tape there. Okay, it's harder than it. There you go.
Yasa.
Yasa. Yasa is your new name. You can read what it says.
Seventh Arahant in the world. His mother and father were the first lay woman and layman to take refuge in the Triple Gem. Then 54 of his friends got inspired and took refuge and reached Arahantship.
May it be so. Okay. So now I will go back to my seat, and at this time, if you can take special offerings and formally pay respects to Luangpur as well. Okay.
Lovely to have you. I think so.
Brahmachalokadipati sahampati Gatanjali anativaram agachata Santita satta parajaka jatita Yesetu dhammam anantimam tajam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Sāmaṇera Yasa. And it kind of rings nicely, doesn't it? And Anagārikas, Aaron and David. Just having having samanas come into the world, having people who are interested in training and in taking a step back from the world. It's a beautiful thing. And there's there's 7 billion people in the world. That's enough. Having a few sort of step out is not a bad thing. And of course, doing it on Vesākha Pūjā, it's a very special day. That was when Ajahn Krunadhammo took his Anagarika Precepts. Debbie, you were there? Must have been. And it was the day before moving up to Abhayagiri. So
second folder of the month paper first.
So it was an extra, and the extra month. Yeah, so that the taking on a training. There's a chant that we do. It's from a sutta. The 10 reflections of one gone forth. And the very first reflection, Vevan niyami aju pagatoti, pabajitena bina pachavikitapan. So that I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. This should be reflected upon again and again by one who has gone forth. And so that's a very important reflection, and to making it a very conscious choice, conscious decision, and inclining the heart to picking up a training, taking on a training, stepping back from various duties and responsibilities, associations within the world, and inclining the heart to freeing the heart from dukkha. It's in with the aspiration of right within the novice ceremony, sabba dukkha nisarna nibbana sajikiriya. And that that sense of the freeing or escape from all dukkha, and the making clear, realizing nibbana. It's setting an aspiration, and that's a noble aspiration. It's a noble, what the Buddha calls a noble search. And this is one of the discourses of the Buddha recounting. I mean, there's several discourses where the Buddha recounts his own aspiration, his own struggles, his own committing to training and to relinquishment, and one of them is it's called the Ariyesana Sutta, and it's a discourse on the noble search, that seeking of what is noble, and that that wish to live simply, the wish to live in a way that is harmless, that is not increasing suffering in the world. And that's a noble aspiration. The wish to live with integrity, set precepts, training. The wish to live with a cultivation and development of mindfulness and understanding and discernment. That's a noble aspiration. And of course, that's something that is, say, appropriate for anybody. But it is helpful to have structures, have a training, have a place of training and the support of a community in order to accomplish that, because it's just to turn away. It's like I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. It's okay to say that, but it takes a while to really turn attention away, or to really change that force of habit and conditioning, or even to make a dent in it. So that having the support of structures and the others who are committed to that training as well. So having those supports are really, really important. And of course, I think that's probably well, actually both, say, Sāmaṇera Yasa and Anagarika Aaron have spent substantial periods of time in the monastery already, and then went out and lived in the world, and yeah, it's not easy, and so that recognizing that, yeah, I know for myself, I'd be. I mean, I'm quite disciplined in the monastery, but I don't know. I wouldn't put many bets on myself. So that I just find the supports and the way of life incredibly helpful. And and I think that sense of. And I was after the Patimokkha today. I was one of the things I brought up as a reflection. Just this tremendous sense of gratitude to the Buddha. And of course, today is Vesākha Pūjā, a recollection of the Buddha and the Buddha's life, and. It's this enormous gratitude for the Buddha having such a clear understanding of human nature, and to give a training and a form that really supports us as human beings to seek what is peaceful, but is for the welfare and happiness of everyone. And of course that's an idiom that comes up in the suttas over and over again. And yes, that committing oneself to that which is for the welfare and happiness of all beings. And it's and then in reality, of course, we still have to deal with our own kind of force of habits and our own oftentimes people will sort of especially in Asia, I'm going to think into like as if you ordain, you've got robes on, and somehow it has you're a purer being somehow. But you ordain, and your defilements ordain with you, and it's just the beginning. It's just the start. You have to. The work is it's only just beginning, and but picking up that training, picking up that the skills of living the holy life, and it does take time, which is why we do. Anagarika training, novice training, bhikkhu training is 5 years with the teacher, and then even then you don't want to wander too far away, and keeping on task. And of course, the task is just knowing our own minds, knowing our own hearts, knowing what is what leads to an increase of greed, hatred, and delusion? What leads to a decrease of greed, hatred, and delusion? What leads to an increase of mindfulness, of compassion, of wisdom, and what obstructs it? And so that learning about ourselves, learning about how to establish ourselves in the Dhamma. So that I think particularly reflecting on this in the as the being the Vesākha Pūjā, a day of recollection of the Buddha, the Buddha's life, and taking an interest and delight in the training. There's in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the account of the passing away of the Buddha, leading up to it, and the passing away. Then there's then the Buddha, of course, I mean he passes away, and then there's a portion of the Sangha who are not so well established yet, and they're kind of distraught, and it's sort of there's some weeping and wailing and tremendous sadness of being separated from the Buddha. And then there's a portion of the venerables, even in the Buddha's time, and it's what are you crying and wailing about? He's finally gone. He's not going to be on our back anymore. This is great. We can finally do what we want, and not have him telling us what to do all the time. But then there's also the portion of the assembly that were of course the Buddha passed away. He's been telling us all along. All things, all conditioned things have the nature to arise. They have the nature to cease. That is the way of all things. Even fully enlightened Buddha is going to arise and pass away. So that, of course, it's good to remind oneself that, and sort of, which group do I want to be in there, and encourage oneself, and because all the options are open, everything's available to one. We make our own choices. We have the opportunity to enter into and abide in the fruits of our actions. And of course, that's in those 10 reflections for one gone forth. One of them is the same as in, say, 5 reflections that one should do frequently. And the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do for good or for ill, of that I will be the heir. So that we, the choices that we make, the things that one commits to, inclines to, cultivates and develops, those bear fruit, and so that too, it's this really making a commitment to training. And you're thinking like some of the stories of the Buddha. And they have an air of a feeling of kind of fable and some of these are they from the old literature and stories, and it can sound just like some fairy tale. Like when the Buddha was born, it took 7 steps, and lotuses sprung up underneath each step that he made, each of the 7 steps. And Lumpur Cha used to sort of say, well, I don't know if lotuses popped up or not, but each of those 7 steps, if you reflect on what did the Buddha walk his whole life, especially when he made his commitment to going forth and to seeking truth, was the 7 factors of awakening. These are the 7 steps that we need to be taking over and over again. And when we really commit to those 7 factors of awakening, walk our life with those 7 factors of awakening, those 7 steps of liberation, of enlightenment, it would be as if that were sort of, because lotuses are always a symbol of purity, and that's what is this purity is receiving us and carrying us, and of course it doesn't just. Again, we don't become magically pure because we put robes on. But if we commit to training, commit to this, these steps to wings to awakening, and they carry us to a place of freedom. Or in the story of it was fairly recently, Ajahn Yaniko, the reflection on the Buddha on after he had his meal on the day of his awakening, and he took the dish that that he'd eaten from and put it into the river and made the adhitthana, the resolution, almost like an asseveration of truth. If I'm going to be liberated, may this dish sort of float upstream rather than downstream. And of course the river kept flowing downstream. It's its nature. But in the story, then the dish goes back upstream. But in terms of say a Dhamma principle, for one committed to the Dhamma, seeking peace, seeking freedom, seeking awakening, we have to go against the stream of the world. We have to go against the stream of desire. We have to go against the stream of habit. We can't be content to just drift along in the most convenient, comfortable, lackadaisical way, and hope to really taste the fruits of the training. There's a necessity to question, to bring into question our the assumptions of habit and preference and views and opinions and desires and attachments, and to question them, to not just follow them. I mean, they're incredibly deep-rooted, and of course that's the Buddha himself as the primary example. He was one who left the palace, left a comfortable life, left a life of accomplishment and sort of love around him, and I mean, it's in that Aryasana Sutta. It's very beautifully put. Where why do I, who is subject to aging, sickness, death, dissolution, change, why do I continually seek after that which is also subject to aging, sickness, death, change, dissolution, separation? Why do I keep doing that? And of course, that's a question for all of us. Why do we keep doing it? Why do I keep doing it? It's a really poignant question, and for encouraging ourselves to seek what is free from aging, sickness, death, free from dissolution, separation, free from discontent, from dis-ease, free from dukkha, and it's such that is a noble search. That is a really, truly noble search. And so to be able to remind ourselves of that, and it requires a certain going against the stream, going against the flow of our preferences and our habits, and it doesn't. But taking an interest in it isn't like kind of begrudgingly doing what's difficult. It's more like taking an interest in what's actually for our what's for our true well-being, true happiness, true peace. What is it that's going to bear fruit? There's an idiom that Ajahn Mahabua always uses in his when he's talking about practicing, saying that it's onomatopoeic, lom luk luk klan. It's a very beautiful idiom, and it's sort of like you practice by falling down, getting up, and kind of stumbling and crawling, and that's kind of what practice is. But we learn from it, and we pay attention to how to get it more smooth, how to get it more upright. Another image that's part of the ancient stories is that when the Buddha went to sit by the banks of the Nelanjara river in this place, the cool grove of trees that he had found, and this particular Bodhi tree, that banyan tree that he thought was particularly suitable for his efforts. A farmer came along and cut some 8 bundles of kusa grass for him, and gave him to put as his seat. So these 8 bundles of grass were his seat. Lumpur Cha used to always say that was the Buddha sat on the eightfold path. That's what he sat on. These 8 bundles of grass are not just sort of grass. I mean, this eightfold path is what one's sitting under. This is what one is enlightened, relying on. And so that these images and these of the Buddha and of the story of the Buddha, this is the story of a human being seeking true knowledge and understanding of the world, and liberation from the world. And that's the example that the Buddha gave is in terms of his life, is one that we all as human beings, and the Buddha said, if you couldn't do this, I wouldn't teach it to you. But you can do it, so I teach this to you, and that, so that picking that up and with that that recollection of gratitude that the Buddha gave us this example, gave us these teachings, and to be to kind of delight in the opportunity that we have. And in particular, today being a day with a new Sāmaṇera, 2 new Anagārikas. It's always auspicious beginning, but this is really auspicious. And just picking it up and giving attention to this in your lives, and just to wish the 3 of you well, and just be be ready to be inspired and put forth effort. Be ready to hit walls and have difficulty, and reach out to others when you do hit a wall. That's everybody who's in this hall has been practicing for some time, and everybody's gone through difficulties, and so just being willing to learn from each other, and also to be a support for each other, and say that sense of growth in the Dhamma comes through as mutual support and mutual admonition. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening.